Here is the main stainless steel board that all the components are going to be attached to that using two DIN rails. And the DIN rails are already fixed with 4 socket head screws in one side and 4 flange nuts on the other side. Please make sure to use blue duct tape in order to keep all parts tight in place. Here is an array of distribution blocks where we need to connect them first and then attach them to the DIN rail. And in connecting these components, please note that there is a slit in one end and a protrusion on the other end that they need to find themselves in fixed. With a little bit of a pressure, you can put them together firmly, and they are going to be attached together in series. The next component is also going to be connected to them in the same manner. Then we will have an array of distribution blocks that need to be put on the DIN rail. With a little bit of a pressure, you can fix them on the DIN rail. Please make sure that it's not moving. Here we have a feed-through distribution block, which is going to be connected, and we have 6 of them in total. Please make sure to note that there is a protrusion in one side that needs to be fixed first. So in this case, it is on the left side. We first put it there, and then a little bit of a pressure makes it snap. And the same happens for all the rest. So with that, we've completed installation of 6 feed-through distribution blocks. And now is the time for the ground block. Again, this has a protrusion on one side that needs to be put first. In this case, again, it's on the left side. Make sure to keep them in tight. Now is the time to fill up the next DIN rail. Please notice that the whole plate is 180 degrees rotated. Starting from the top part, there will be a terminal block ground which is going to be placed first in the same procedure as stated before. We snap it starting from one point that has a protrusion. The next one is a feed-through terminal block in blue color that needs to be connected. Next, there is another brown colored terminal block feed-through. And just beside that, we will have a circuit breaker. Please note that the protrusion for the circuit breaker is on the left side, so we will start snapping from that part. Coming forward, there will be another series of distribution block feed-throughs. Then again, the protrusion is on the right side, so we will start snapping from that part. And the next ones are going to be attached with the same manner, with a little bit of a pressure. In the next step, there is a power supply that needs to be connected first. The protrusion is on the left side in this case, so we will start from that side. There is another power supply that's going to be placed just beside it, starting from the left side again. In this part, we are going to go over assembly of the Raspberry Pi kit only. This kit includes the Raspberry Pi board, the 2 black supporters, and the top and bottom cases, and a lid to cover that. Starting from the Raspberry Pi board, It's going to be supported with two black supporters. These two supporters are going to be attached to the board using two snap locks at each end with pressing through the holes of the board. Once done, it's going to sit on the top part of the chassis. Please note that there will be intrusions already designed on the chassis. That is the place of the black supporters of the board. According to the intrusions on the chassis, it's going to sit just like this. Now that the top part is already done, we need to put the bottom chassis on that. So a little bit of a pressure is going to snap the bottom part, just like this. And now it's done. And the next part is to put the lid on that. Please note that there are two protrusions that needs to go through the two holes. That's for the lid. But inserting the first one and pressing the other one, both would fall in place. And it's ready. So in the last part of the Raspberry Pi, there are two little orange parts that needs to be put in place. I already have done one, and the next one is as simple as just putting it there and press it to snap in place. With that, the Raspberry Pi is done. Now that we have completed the Raspberry Pi, it's going to be attached. Make sure that the ports are going to be on the right side. Since this is symmetric, a little bit of pressure is enough to place it firmly on the DIN rail. In this section, wiring of the whole system starts from the ground lines. It travels all the way from the green terminal block to the white distribution block. A 20 centimeter of green wire is enough for that. Please note that the distribution blocks are equipped with cramping ends, such that we need to first press firmly to open it up and then place it and it holds it. Make sure that everything is tied in place. Next, there will be a white wire connecting one end of the terminal block to the distribution block. Next, there will be a black cable connecting two rows of the termination block feed-throughs. A screwdriver is helpful in pulling it up and fixing it in place. Next, an orange wire is used to connect a row of this feed-through to the black termination block. Again, snapping and cramping of the wire is done using the screwdriver. And here, a bit of a pressure opens up the termination block to clamp the wire. Next, a black wire is going to connect one of the termination block feed-throughs to the white distribution block, which is the ground. Another yellow wire is going to connect the yellow distribution block to one row of the feed-through termination block. make sure that everything is tied and fastened. Another orange wire is going to connect the power supply to the termination block feed-throughs. We'll start from the second row on the right side of the power supply, and it's going to be connected to a row of feed-through termination blocks. That's going to be positive supply voltage. Another white wire is going to be connecting another power supply's positive voltage from the termination block to the second row of the power supply. One of the power supplies is 5 volt, another is 12 volts. And it clamps the wire. Another black wire is used to connect a row of the termination block feed-throughs to the third column of the power supply on the left side. This is going to be the ground of the power supply. The other ground of the other power supply is also going to be connected with the same manner. It's going to be connected to the same row of the termination block feed-through that acts as the ground here. Here, we are going to connect the power supply to the termination block feed-throughs. Each of them are going to be connected individually. Starting from the right side of the right power supply with the brown wire, it's going to be connected to the first row from the left side. So make sure that it's firmly attached. Moving to the blue wire, which is going to connect the central line of the termination block feeds through to the central column of the power supply. And lastly, the green line is going to connect the right side of the termination block feed through to the left column of the power supply. The same scenario is going to repeat for the other power supply as well. Now, a thick brown wire is going to connect the right side termination block feed through in a brown color to the back end of the circuit breaker, which is right beside of that in black color. So there is a connection between these two with a short brown wire. There is another brown cable which is going to connect the front side of the circuit breaker in black color to the leftmost row of the central termination block feed-throughs. Right at the left side, because all the other brown wiring coming from the power supply on the left side are also going to that row. Make sure that everything is fixed and tied in place. Another thicker blue wire is going to connect the right side termination block feeds through to the central row, which is the corresponding row for blue color in the other side of the circuit breaker. Again, make sure that the wires are going to be connected in corresponding colors. The blue wiring coming from the left power supplies are also going to the central row of the termination block, and that's why this thicker wire is going to be connected to the same row as well. And it snaps over there. Make sure that it's fixed. And the last thick green wire is going to connect as before, with the same procedure connecting the feed-throughs on either side of the circuit breaker with corresponding colors. Since the wiring is based on the coloring, and the right side rows of the termination blocks are designed and assigned for the green color, that's why they are going to be connected together. And finally, the whole system is already attached and fixed firmly on the DIN rails and on the stainless steel plate, as you can see here. After everything is done, please make sure that all of the components are already fixed in place.